So let's move ahead and start with question number 7. How can we do test coverage using VSTS system? Now, many a times when you actually do testing or when you actually do automated testing on your application, you would like to also find out that how many of the areas are not tested. So in other words, you want to just find out the test coverage, saying that out of 100% of the code, how many percent of the code was tested. So let's try to see that how VSTS team system helps us to find out the test coverage percentage. So let's quickly see that how we can do the test coverage. So let's click on test. Let's go to Windows. Let's go to test list editor. Now what I'll do is that I'll not run all the tests. Probably I'll just let me run test method 1. Now these tests are fired on the invoice class or on the invoice DLL. So test method 1, test data driven method 1 and test customer. Basically all of these 3 test cases basically cover the whole thing. But at this point what I'll do is that I'll just fire only one of them. So let's do this and let's say run checked test. So let me just run it. Now once the test case is executed, you can go and right click and say code coverage. So in the code coverage you will find that on the invoice.dll what he is saying is, let's give a big view to this. So on the invoice.dll what he's saying is that you have not covered 95% of your code. So you can really go and drill down and say, hey, which code haven't I covered? So he's saying that you have not covered the CLS customer class. So basically you have covered the CLS invoice calculation class. Okay, you can see that this is covered one, but the other ones like the add method, the set customer, the get customer code, all these things are not covered. So that means that our code at this moment is only what you call as 5% covered and 95% is not covered. So you can see the not covered percentage amount. Now one more important point here is that before you run this coverage, you need to also specify saying that which DLLs have to be test covered. So that you can do by double clicking on the test run config file, and you need to go to the code coverage tab and ensure that this DLL is checked. If you do not check this, then the code coverage is not checked. So at this moment it is 95%. Now let me do one thing. Let me just go to test and run all the test cases. So let me go to the test list editor and let me select all my test cases. Let me say run. Now it will show me 100% test coverage. Why? Because all of my test cases have ran. So let's go to just right click and say code coverage. So you can see that 0% not covered. So in other words, 100% coverage or 100% code has been covered by the test case. So in this way you can know how much percentage of your code is not been tested, and then probably you can do a retrospective and see that do you want to really go and write test cases for those areas. So I hope that you have understood how to do the code coverage, and in the coming up videos we'll try to understand how can we do manual testing using VSTS team system, and how can we do something called as the ordered test.